Joining us now, New York Times best-selling novelist Vince Flynn. Vince, his 14th book is out right now, The Last Man. It features his recurring character, counterterrorism operative Mitch Rapp. These things are like crack cocaine. These books that you...
And with that we begin.
That's going on the cover of the next book.
I got
a lot of experience.
But good for you.
But the amazing thing about this one, it's Afghanistan. It's a high-ranking official disappearing. It's all sorts of stuff that you can read about.
It's got an FBI agent who's really got a you-know-what for the CIA. It's got a high-ranking military official who's having an affair with a woman in the State Department, which you guys talked about earlier. It's I know General Petraeus. This whole thing caught me off guard. It's not, I think the man is, I said, he's not the first four-star general to be a narcissist.
True.
He is more of a political general than like a Stan McChrystal, who was more of a warrior general. When I look back at what happened with McChrystal, Petraeus was awfully quiet. I don't think he liked all the headlines McChrystal was getting. When McChrystal went down, he just sat there and didn't say anything.
But Vince, it's so perfect that you're here, because I got to ask, would you ever submit a pitch like this to your editor with all of these crazy, salacious details and expect to not be laughed out of the room?
No, it falls under that category. You cannot make it up fast enough, and people, I always, you go back to David Baldacci's book, which Absolute Power, great book. He publishes that under Reagan or Bush 1, and it doesn't really sell, because it starts out with the president having an affair with one of his top fundraisers' wives. Well, in the Clinton administration, all of a sudden people are like, I can buy into that. But so you really do have a hard time staying in front of this stuff. But this one even caught me off guard, because I think Petraeus, even though the man had a massive ego, I thought he took his job very seriously. These guys are not politicians. We've grown to expect this out of our politicians, unfortunately. But out of our military commanders, they have to adjudicate over countless people underneath them for this exact thing. And they have it for very good reasons. One, it's not honorable to do this, and they're a profession of honor. And second of all, you can't have people over in the theater of war, as you discussed earlier, having affairs. And worse, when the fighting people are let's say the Marines are over in Fallujah or something, and their wives are back having sex with other Marines at the base, it is so poisonous for morale. So the military takes this very seriously.
But does this inform in some way about some culture or subculture that exists? I mean, you've spent a lot of time traveling to those regions. Something that most Americans, obviously caught off guard by this, should be better aware of, that exists within our military infrastructure or the highest ranks, perhaps?
I almost feel like we're better off not knowing some of this stuff, that these things go on. I'm more worried about the families and the kids and how all of that's continuing back here. This socialite down in Tampa, this is ridiculous. I mean, they should have smelled this coming from a mile away. Right. I've been to other bases. The
license plate.
We're very good people, a lot of retired business women and men. Get in there and help the families.
Yeah.
They buy the kids clothes, and they're really doing the right thing. This gal's down there, all she's doing is throwing parties and causing troubles. I mean, the whole thing stinks, and it, unfortunately, these are, a couple of our brightest stars, and they look like a couple of high school kids on Facebook.
Where's the discipline? I mean, it just seems like these are people who are designed to be disciplined. And
they're going to get disciplined.
No, a total lack of self-control in these cases, from the emails to the acts themselves.
Correct. And I go back to, and I know Joe was very upset, and I get this. What is the FBI doing looking into this stuff? Because it is troubling. But once it starts and you find out that the keeper of your secrets is this reckless, I don't know how you stop.
Right.
Because if we can find out, if some little shirtless FBI guy down in Florida can find out, trust me, the SVD and a lot of other intelligence agencies have figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big elements of this. Yeah. When you pull that string, that's a huge element of the story. Our privacy.
Well, our privacy, but let's just be clear about one thing. When you become director of the Central Intelligence Agency, you give up this kind of privacy. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to have a private email email account, but you cannot do this stuff on it.
We don't want you to actually get out of here without actually selling your book a little bit.
No, it's okay.
Not that you need much help, having sold like 100 billion jillion books in the past.
That's why we resent him.
So to talk about the book and talk about, forget about the parallels to the situation.
Yep.
I assume all your characters behave more honorably and smarter, or at least.
Oh no, God no.
Oh no, less honorably. So what goes on in this book?
When I sat down to write this book, what I wanted to capture was, the fact that we are about to do a tactical withdrawal out of Afghanistan. And in the military, it's one of the hardest things to do. The Brits did it famously when they left Afghanistan a couple hundred years ago, and they lost almost everybody on the withdrawal. So it was easy to see that we were going to have this green on blue violence. And so when I started writing it, that wasn't really a story yet. Well, it's in this book, and there's a lot of it. And there's CIA men running around with bags of cash trying to buy off warlords, which touches on Benghazi a little bit. That's what happened that night. We tried to get the local militias to come in and save us. And ultimately, and this gets a little too much attention, people feel like the CIA and the FBI hate each other. They don't. There's elements within both organizations that hate each other, 10, 20% maybe. But by and large, they work well together. They're after the same thing. But you will get the occasional really aggressive person who wants to make a name for themselves in Washington, which we've never seen that before, and they go after it.
Vince Flynn, I'm telling you, The Last Man, his latest. Great stuff. Vince, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Coming up, film director Oliver Stone. Also, President Obama gives Republicans a little preview of what they're up against as they prepare an entire budget and negotiations begin, I don't know.